is presenting on the change management. Next slide. Well, what is change? Change is something, making something different. And everyone is afraid of that. But change is persistent and occurs with time, which brings a lot of disturbance and resistance to the present. So, to overcome that disturbance, we need change management. Next. So, what does change management do? First, transitioning organizations, that is change from a current state to a desired future state for the prosperity. And next is obviously, since we know change brings lots of disturbance, so we have the goal of change management to minimize the resistance. Also, change is done for the effectiveness. So we need to maximize change effectiveness through the change management. Next slide. Okay, now why change management? Already discussed disturbance and resistance due to the change. So due to the change, we have a lot of problems like fear of change, lack of participation in change, poor communication while maintaining the change, and unclear objectives about the change, and inadequate resources. So through the change management, we can involve the stakeholder in the decision making of the change so that the fear of change can be removed. Also encouraging participations and regular updates about the change, and setting the clear objectives, what we need after the change, and providing enough resources for implementing the change. Next. Okay. There are not any fixed types of change management. On different basis, there are different types of change management. We have listed here 5 types: strategic, operational, cultural, transactional, and transformational. Transformational is change in the whole organization, fundamental change, how the company operates and everything. Transactional means with a sort of project. We are maintaining a change in a sort of project, like we are merging with another company, so we have to manage that change. Also cultural means focusing on the changing values, beliefs, and behaviors of the organization. And operational is the day-to-day activities, so changes on the day-to-day activities. And strategic is focused on long-term change, changing the organization strategy. How do we work? Next slide. Now, prerequisites of change management. We need first, why do we need the change? That is reason for change. What is disturbing now? And what could be the effective measure for the better future? And then define your vision. That means setting clear objectives, what our changes do. And the gap analysis. Gap analysis is most important in change management. Like it defines on different WH questions. How it is going on now, and how it will be, and what it is, what it will be. Different gap analysis helps us to for the proper change management. Next. Slide change भइरहेको छैन. Okay. Previous. There are many different standard models for the change management. Change management is not a specific things. We need to improvise it according to what we need, how the change is, and how to get it right. There are models like Lewins change management model, Adkar model, Kotler's 8-step change model, Cobbler's row change curve, and so on. Now we are going to discuss any 2 models. Next. Okay. Lewins change model. It is like ice on freezing, changing, and refreezing. Unfreezing means preparing the organization to accept and educate that change is required, why that change is required, and plan with all the organization that how it is going to be implemented. Changing the exact implementation part. People begin to make a look for new ways to do things. That means coaching for the new ideas, train, lead, manage, and feedback, taking regular feedback about the change, and then come the refreezing. Changes are already implemented, and people have embraced the new way of working. Then we need to maintain the indicator, how the change is performing, and the stability of the change, reward for those who are into the change, and sanction for those who are not following the change. Next. The next one is Adkar model. It is very simple model and mostly used for the change management. That is awareness of the need of change. All the things we are discussing from the first slide, and the desire to participate in and support change, motivate and get desire in the employees to participate in the change, and knowledge of how to change, and ability to change. And we need to reinforce the sustainability of the change, that change will be sustainable. Next. Yes, that's all for now. I would like to call my next team member to continue. Thank you.
So I'm going to talk about Amazon, which is one of the greatest examples of successful change management. We have prepared 3 different case studies, where 2 will be about the successful change management, and one of them will be about how unsuccessful change management has happened. So Amazon is one of the best examples of how change management can be done successfully, because Amazon has moved from a small online bookstore to a multinational tech company. So let's begin with the beginnings. So the founding grounds of Amazon was laid in 1994 by Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos had been working in a software company, and he wanted to start a startup of a software company, of an internet-based online software company. So he prepared a list of the things that would be the best for selling online. Those lists included compact disc, hardware, software, videos, and books. And then he decided that books are the best option. So his initial vision was to make the biggest online bookstore in the world. Because everyone keeps on reading books, people are still reading books, they will keep on reading books for a long amount of time, and the publishing cost of book was less compared to other products. So his initial vision was to make his his online store, the biggest bookstore in the world. Then after a few years, the company was established in 1994, and in 1997, the company went public. And the following year, it started selling music videos, games, electronics, toys, etc. And this company had been growing steadily. Then we can see that the company had been growing steadily, but what was the actual problem? Why did it have to go through the change management? The problem started when other competitors came into the market. When it was established, it was the only online, or it was one of the few online e-commerce brands. But after a few years, it started struggling to sell, because it was a simple e-commerce company and it had been stuck in that .com bubble. So to get out of that .com bubble, Amazon decided that they will need to diversify. And at that time came in merchant.com. In 2000s, Amazon wanted to launch an e-commerce service called merchant.com to help third-party merchants build a shopping site on top of Amazon's e-commerce engine. Now that is what they tried, but in actuality, they created a jumbled mess, because it was a bad attempt at API service. Now they created a discussion, they have some discussion, and they decided that merchant.com have to be improved. And that is when they created a set of well-documented APIs. But despite creating the well-documented APIs, everyone was using their own resource for building a project, and there was no scaling or reuse available. So that resulted in slower application development. So despite their effort of diversifying, they could not scale or reuse their products properly. And that is when the actual change occurred. Next slide. So the change began with Amazon Web Services. Now, as I mentioned before, merchant.com, it changed into Amazon Web Services when it became a set of well-documented APIs. Amazon Web Services was launched in 2002 as an API service for web developers. They started their simple storage service S3 in 2006 and their elastic compute cloud service in 2008, and they became the first company to launch infrastructure as a service. Now, it is even said that before this, infrastructure as a service was not in existence, and Amazon was the first one to start it. Now, when Amazon Web Services came into existence, it grew quickly but steadily and quickly, and then currently it is the to-go cloud service, and it is the biggest chunk of Amazon right now, the biggest component that is gaining revenue for Amazon. The next change, now Amazon has gone through a lot of changes, but I have included 6 major changes that I think has made the company what it is today. The second service is the delivery system. Amazon has drastically innovated their product delivery. They have created Prime membership for fleet deliveries. Drone delivery program enables customers to receive their orders in 30 minutes or less. Now, because of this, a lot of customers are enticed to be a part of Amazon. The third change that they have done is warehouse automations. They have done major technological transformations for their warehouse by bringing in robots for collecting and transporting their products, which has brought about efficient services. The next change is Amazon TV and Prime Video. Now, as we all know, Amazon first started as a bookstore, but then from bookstore, after launching its IPO, it forayed into TV, movies, and videos. After that, it moved from selling books and videos to streaming videos. And currently, it produces its own movies and TV shows, and some of them are quite good. So this is one of the major changes that Amazon has done. The next one is Amazon Go. Now, I'm sure you have stumbled upon a video in which people are going to a supermarket without any employees, and they are doing all their shopping by themselves. They're checking out all by themselves. So this is an example of Amazon Go. It is a physical grocery store which aims to disrupt, transform, and dominate retail grocery stores, and it ensures a hassle-free shopping. Now, it is not mainstream at present, but I'm sure in future years, this is going to be a big part of Amazon. And the last one, which I think is one of the major changes, is Kindle and ebooks. Now, I personally prefer hard copy books, but Amazon has brought about Kindle, which has been one of its biggest innovations. And Kindle has actually changed how books are read, sold, and distributed. Now, that might be for better or for worse, but it has brought a revolution in how books are read. So this was about Amazon. For next part, I'd like to welcome Rahul.
Thank you, Supriya. So, another successful change management that any brand has dealt is Coca-Cola. So, it is one of the world leading carbonated drink manufacturer, and it is one of the oldest brand as well. So, let's talk about the beginning and how it undergo many changes. So, it was founded by a pharmacist named John Pemberton in Atlanta on 8th of May 1886. So initially it was used as a drug to cure some disease like dyspepsia, morphine addiction, or headache. But later, after 1 year, it was very popular among those shops. So a businessman named Asa Griggs, he studies the trend, and he purchased the formula from the pharmacist, and he took that drink to company level. So it was the beginning of Coca-Cola. So let's talk about some change that Coca-Cola had done. So we can see mainly 4 changes they went through, and I have listed the purpose for the change as well. So the first one is product change. They have changed their initial product slight variation. So it was necessary due to the competition or the customer demand. Similarly, there was internal structure change, which was mainly due to the supply chains and distribution. So they had to set up more office at different countries. So now they have over 200 distribution center in every country. So they had changed their internal structure of supply chain and distribution. Similarly, due to the technological advancement, there is some change in the process or manufacturing, and they studied the change in markets, which deals with the taste and customer satisfaction. But the main trigger for change in Coca-Cola was the market, the customer expectation, and the legislation. So I have listed some cause for the change, and in next slide I'll be listing some solutions or the change that has done to mitigate these causes. So the first one is the competition. So in 1961, Pepsi sub brand 7-Up was giving a tough competition to Coca-Cola, whereas Coca-Cola don't have any second category. Like it was only the Coca-Cola. There has no any sub brands like Sprite, or we have Fanta as of now. So this was the problem at that time. I'll be talking about the solution next slide. Similarly, the another cause was they had done some experiment with their original product, because of the competition from the Pepsi. The management team has decided to reformulate their original product with sweeter variant. So this also has been a failure for them, and later they had changed their product to mitigate this problem. And another causes for the change was a health concern. So US government in 2005, they are serious about their population health situation, and there was some campaign against it. So Coca-Cola had handled that as well by taking some changes. So next slide. I'll be talking about the solution, how they made change in their company and how they mitigate those causes. So when 7-Up was giving aggressive competition to Coca-Cola, the Coca-Cola has to develop a new product which specifically addressed the competition. So they came up with Sprite. Similarly, when they were experimenting with the new product, that was a failure. So they had to revert back. But reverting back was not a solution. It was a demotivation. So they came up with a new classic look or superior look. So they named their original product. The product was same, but the name and branding was new. So it was Coca-Cola Classic, which again gained some popularity from their original product, a larger popularity, I'll say. And to mitigate the campaign or the revolution, so they have realized the campaign and they introduced new product like Diet Coke and Coca-Cola Zero, which was a responsive approach to the campaign, and it was not against the campaign. So that's how they mitigate the problem, and they came up with the change in product. So these are the list. I'm sure there are many more changes that Coca-Cola underwent, and now I would like to talk about the implementation. So Coca-Cola generally adapt the Carter's 8-step model, but I have summarized it in 3 phases. So the first was planning. First is planning, where the change agents recognize it. They recognize the change, which area needs to get improved. So these are basically the factors for the emerging changes. So these are done by the leaders. Next one is pilot studying, where the change is recognized. They study and find some solution, and they discuss with the top level management. After the talk, they do the change, and they before going to public, they do a staff sensitization, where the staff will uh, uh, experience with the change, and if the staff adopt the change, then they believe their customer will also adopt those changes. So this is how the change implementation will go in Coca-Cola. So this is a successful change story of Coca-Cola. Now I would like to talk. I would like to ask Praveen for another change topic. Praveen, are you there? You are muted.
Mute, Sir Praveen.
Sorry. Mm. So I'll be explaining about Nokia. I think we have all heard about Nokia. It is a perfect example of what to do and what not to do. I'll be explaining about the beginnings of Nokia and as well as the major causes of its drawback, and we'll try to keep it as short as possible. Nokia was founded in 1865 on the banks of River Nokia, and it started as a paper mill operation. It exported its main product to Great Britain and Russia. It involved itself in different industrial sectors such as wheelchair frames, rubber boots, cable, tires, and televisions. However, the major growth of Nokia was when it began its journey in 1987 in sector of telecommunication. The first GSM call was made in 1991 through Nokia. It overtook Motorola in 1998 to become the largest mobile phone brand in the whole world. I won't be explaining much about the positive organizational change. However, one of the major organizational changes Nokia went through was called Nokia Booster Program in 2004. It was initiated in order to bridge the communication gap between the company, employee, and customers. By implementing these changes, Nokia was able to maintain its sale of mobile brand in the early 2000s. However, the turning point of Nokia was in the year 2007 when it recalled 46 million phones due to potentially faulty batteries. Another turning point was the launching of iPhone. Apple launched iPhone in the year 2007, which had better software than Nokia. However, Nokia ignored these changes, ignored this event, and in 2008, Android was introduced into the market. Nokia still believed that customers prefer QWERTY phones over touch-screen phones. However, major companies like Samsung, Motorola, Huawei launched cheap Android-based user-friendly phones. With the introduction of Android and iPhones, the demand of touch-screen phones grew exponentially. This was when Nokia realized their mistake. But Nokia did not adopt Android, but instead adopted for their own OS called Symbian. Symbian was late into the market, and when Symbian was launched, Android had their major update. This caused Symbian to be inferior than the Android. The another cause of its downfall was Nokia enjoyed customer loyalty too much and believed that it will still remain the favorite option of mobile phone buyers. This overconfidence led to the demise of Nokia. According to an article in 2004, few of the employees had put forth an idea of a mobile phone with big bright color screen that was capable of connecting to the internet. However, the Nokia leadership said that it was highly disruptive to their big marketing and product development plans. All these events collectively led the downfall of Nokia, turning it from one of the biggest mobile phone brand to almost non-existent in the early 2020s. With this, I like to end our presentation with a proverb: "Dukhama atina ra sukhama matine hutain."